Good evening, everybody. It's Keegan here. I'm back with another video for you guys, and I hope you guys are all having a nice Sunday evening. Anyways, today's video I'm bringing you guys another edition of Keegan's movie reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about two movies this time. And today I'm going to be talking about Avatar and the sequel that recently came out, Avatar: The Way of Water. So let's get started with the first film. So, Avatar is a sci-fi film written and directed by James Cameron, and was originally released on December 18th, 2009. And as of this video, this movie currently holds the record for highest grossing film of all time. It did lose that title in 2018 to Avengers: Infinity War, but as of September of 2022, it was able to reclaim that title following the film's 4K re-release in theaters back in September of 2022. So as of this video, Avatar still holds the title for being the highest grossing film of all time. And I remember going to see this film in theaters sometime after it came out, like after Christmas back in 2009, when I was 8 years old at the time. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that later. But anyways, let's talk about the storyline of the film, and then we'll get into my thoughts of the film. So, let's dive into Avatar. So, Avatar follows a paraplegic Marine named Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington. And Jake is sent to a planet called Pandora to take his deceased brother's role in a mission that revolves around him controlling the body of Pandora's indigenous humanoids who live on the planet called Na'vi. And anyways, he's there on an assignment to learn about the Na'vi on the planet. But what he doesn't know is that the greedy corporation that's responsible for the mission and their intentions behind it. Jake begins to slowly become too attached to the Na'vi and the planet that he basically forgets who he is and where. He basically forgets that he lives on Earth. So he basically becomes the Na'vi despite being a human. And then things get from bad to worse when the corporation plans to wipe out all the Na'vi so they can harvest the rich resources that scatter across the lands. And that's basically the storyline of the film in a nutshell. Now, like I said earlier, I remember going to see this film in theaters like after Christmas back in 2009. I remember seeing it in theaters with my mom, my brother, and my friend. And I would have been 8 years old at the time when I saw the film in theaters, and I saw it in 3D. And I remember being really blown away by the visuals and all the 3D effects for the film at the time when I saw it. And I believe this movie is what made 3D movies really popular back in the early 2010s. I think these days 3D movies aren't as popular as they were back then. And I'm pretty sure Avatar was the movie that revolutionized the popularity of 3D movies. But I remember seeing the movie in theaters, and I remember being really blown away by all the visuals, cinematography, and stuff. But back then, I wasn't really into cinema like I am now. And before I watched Avatar: The Way of Water, which we will talk about in a few minutes, I actually rewatched this film prior to seeing it, like the day before I saw The Way of Water. And it was the first time I watched the film in almost 6 years. I remember the last time I watched the film was back in 2017 when I was in high school, when we were talking about colonization and all that shit. But upon rewatching the film, I wouldn't consider the film a masterpiece, but it is an enjoyable film. The film does have some beautiful visuals and some really, really good cinematography, and has some really good CGI effects that still look pretty good to this day for a 13-year-old movie. And I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece like I said before, but it's still a really enjoyable film. And it's just a really good sci-fi film and a classic film from the 2000s. And as of this video, like I said earlier, it still holds the title for being the highest grossing film of all time. Well, until some other movie takes that title, this movie will stay as the highest grossing film of all time. And I do want to point out that this movie kind of reminds me of another film that came out years before it called Dances with Wolves. I know a lot of people can do a comparison of this movie and Dances with Wolves because they're kind of similar if you think about it. I'll probably talk about Dances with Wolves someday. But I don't really have a whole lot to say about this film before we move on to the sequel. But Avatar is just a classic sci-fi film from the 2000s. And I think it still holds up to this day. And a really enjoyable film. But I'm going to give Avatar a 7.8 out of 10. So now we move on to the sequel, Avatar The Way of Water, which recently came out not too long ago. This one was directed by James Cameron and was released on December 16th, 2022. And I saw this film in theaters yesterday. I went to the first screening of the film. I went early in the morning because of the film's long runtime. Now, before we talk about the movie itself, I would like to point out that I know I said it in a lot of my older videos. Before the trailer for this movie came out, I said that I was not ever going to watch this movie because I thought a sequel to the first movie wasn't really necessary. I was quite skeptical when they announced that there was going to be not one, but 4 sequels to the first film. I was quite skeptical about it. And I know in some of my older videos I said I wasn't going to watch it. Well, once they announced it, which I believe they announced that they were going to make a sequel to the first movie in 2018 or 2019, I believe. It could have been maybe later than that. I can't exactly remember when they announced that they were going to do a sequel to it, but if anyone knows, let me know in the comments below. Thanks. But I was quite skeptical that they were going to do a sequel to this movie. And until they released the first trailer to the movie back in November, I believe, when they released the trailer to it, I was wrong. I said, this actually looks pretty good. But I said I wasn't going to be in a big rush to seeing it. Well, finally, I checked out the film yesterday, and while I enjoyed the film for what it was, I've got some pretty mixed feelings on it, but we'll get to that in a moment. But let's talk about the storyline of the film, shall we? So Avatar The Way of Water takes place 10 years after the first film ends, and Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington again, is now a Na'vi and now has a family. He started with Natari, who was played by Zoe Saldana in the first film and in this film. And everything is good until the humans from the first film returned to continue to invade Pandora and steal the precious minerals and stuff that is scattered across the land. And Jake must form an army with the entire Na'vi, like start an army with all the Na'vi to fight off the humans again. And they go on to discover a water tribe of Na'vi during the journey. And without giving away too much, that's basically the storyline of the film in a nutshell. Well, as best as I can describe it. Now, I was surprisingly enjoyed this film. It was a little better than I thought it would be. The film is visually stunning and beautiful to look at, much like the first film. While I wouldn't consider it a masterpiece, I still enjoyed it. However, like I said earlier, I do have some mixed feelings for this film. My first issue with this film is that it recycles a lot of the same plot lines as the first film did. And I found it really predictable at times. It goes in sort of the same order as how the first movie went off. Well, if you've seen both films, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Another issue I have with the film is that it's it goes on for way too long. It didn't really need to be 3 hours and 12 minutes. It could have been a little under that. And there isn't as much action as the first movie did, especially with the long runtime. And some of the dialogue in the film is ranged from okay to kind of mediocre. But all the issues I have with this film, all that aside, I think it's a pretty good sequel to the first film. While, like I said earlier, not a masterpiece like the first film is, I still enjoyed it for what it was, but I think I like the first film a little bit more, but it's still a pretty good sequel. And I believe James Cameron has a vision for this whole franchise, and I definitely will check out the other 3 sequels that will be coming out in the years to come. I think the next film was supposed to come out in 2025, I believe, or next year. I'm not sure. I believe it's supposed to be 2024. But I don't have a whole lot to say about this film. It's a pretty good sequel, but not near. But I do have some mixed feelings for the film, and I think I prefer the first film over this one. But nonetheless, Avatar: The Way of Water is a solid sequel, but definitely no masterpiece by any means, like I said before. But if you like the first film, I would recommend it. I think you'd probably like it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the film. So I'm giving Avatar: The Way of Water a 7.2 out of 10. And that's going to be it for this review. Well, guys, that wraps up another edition of Keagan's Movie Reviews. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment below, subscribe for more videos like this, and feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and so on. And follow me on my other social medias. The links are in the description down below, like they always are. And what do you guys think of these 2 films? Which film do you prefer more, Avatar or Avatar: The Way of Water? Let me know in the comments below. And do you plan on checking out the planned sequels that are coming out in the future? Again, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for this video. So thanks again for watching. I hope you guys have a great evening. And until next time, this is Keagan Shepard signing off. And thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great evening, everybody. Peace out. Bye.